2018 DPPE and DJPE, the subject Phe12. Presenter Mrs. A.C. Stein, and the cell phone number is 081 277 5321. Good morning, I'm Mrs. Ansie Stein, your tutor for Phe12 for this year. Welcome to the presentation for this subject. I hope you enjoy your studies and that you will be successful this year. Success comes with dedicated, consistent work. My contact details are 081 277 5321, that's my cell phone number, and my email address, ansiestein@hotmail.com. You are welcome to contact me from Mondays till Saturdays from 8 a.m. till 8 p.m. You can either phone me or SMS or email me. In the latter case, I can send you a detailed answer. Please feel free to ask if anything is unclear or if you have problems regarding your subject. I'm willing to assist as far as I can. I'm going to discuss the most important facts of each unit separately. You will then be able to follow the content discussed if you page through your study guide while I'm discussing the content. Please note that this presentation is not a discussion of any exam paper, but of the most important content for the whole year. As an introduction to the study guide, I'm shortly going to explain some information regarding the guide itself. When you page to the front of the study guide, you will find a detailed table of contents. Here you will find the headings of the complete content, and you will be able to have an overview of your subject for the year. Take time to read through it, to familiarize yourself with the content you are going to study. On page 5, that's in the DPPE study guide, and 2 in the DJPE study guide, you will find very important information regarding the time you are required to spend with the subject in order to be a successful student. Because this is distant teaching, it is very important that you spend adequate time right throughout the year with your study material. To just start studying before the exams will not be wise, and it will be hard to write the exams successfully. So I recommend that you spend time every day with your studies. Even half an hour every day will be worthwhile. Consistency is the key to being a successful student. When you turn the page, you will find verbs, thinking processes. These words form the key of the assignment and also the exam paper. For example, when you are requested to analyze facts, you will have to present facts in detail, and when you have to outline, you have to only give an overview and present the main features. Make sure to know what is expected of you when these verbs are present in your assignment and in the exam paper. When you turn to Unit 1, you firstly find the table of content of this unit and then the learning outcomes. Learning outcomes are an indication of what the content you will find, what content you will find in this specific unit. Learning activities follow the learning outcomes. In these learning activities, you will find specific questions regarding the content of the specific unit. It will be wise to firstly try to answer these questions on your own, and thereafter look at the answers which are at the end of each unit. When studying for the exams, use these questions to study because they form the core of the content and are very important. Do not forget to also study the assignment you completed, because some of these questions will also be asked in the exams. Now we're going to start with the unit specifically. So let's page to Unit 1. In 1.1.6, that's in the DPPE study guide, but it's in 1.1.7 in the DJPE study guide, the benefits of physical education are discussed in detail. Physical education contributes to improved physical fitness, to skill development, regular healthful physical activities. It supports other subject areas like science and maths. Improved judgment as they come across challenges to solve. Stress reduction, and it strengthens peer relationships. So PE is a vital part of their education, although not an exam subject. Now please remember that because the DPPE and DJPE courses are presented in a combined way, the content of the two study guides may not be 100% the same, but it is very important to note that both study guides' content are taken into account when setting up exam papers and when they are marked. So it will be correct to study from the study guide you received from IOL, and it will in no way influence your marks in a negative way. Because the learning activities play such a vital part in your studies, I'm going to refer to them quite often. Now, one of the learning activities requests an explanation why playful activities are essential for the development of children. When we page to the answers at the end of Unit 1 in the learning activities, the correct answers will be that playful activities allow learners to learn self-control, explore, care for others, be creative and imaginative, communicate, take risks. In fact, there are quite a few more benefits set out in Learning Activity 2 at the end of Unit 1. Study to know them all. If you want to read about the answers in the learning activities, look them up in this unit. The answers found at the back of the unit are many times a summary of the broader content found in the unit itself. These answers make it easy to get to know the facts, but for a better understanding, please read the unit itself. Learning Activity 3 is about the way in which the indoor play area can provide challenges which enhance and better learners' development. So let us look at the answers provided. It enhances social skills. Do you know how? It increases physical and motor skills. In what way do you think? Learners develop communication and language skills. Can you elaborate on this? I ask the questions because you must be able to motivate your answers too. Read them in LA3's answers. Learning Activity 4 requires a discussion of a statement. Movement contributes to the development of the whole child, not only physically when the muscles are trained, but it also helps the child to develop emotionally. So it develops physically and emotionally, socially and cognitively. Again, to find out how and to help you fill in the answers, read the answer of Learning Activity 4, but also 1.4.2.1 in the DPPE study guide and 1.4 in the DJPE study guide. The last content of importance in this unit is about the ways in which beanbags can be used to practice the activity aim and throw. This activity is directly aimed at improving the aim and throw actions of your learners, and a teacher should know how to perform these actions, not just aimlessly, but in the correct way for the child to benefit in the best possible way. They can aim and throw the beanbag into a box, but gradually increase the distance of the box to enhance the skill. The teacher can also do the same activity but using a hoop instead of a box, and differ the heights of the hoop. Play hopscotch using a beanbag instead of a stone. Now, if you do not know how this game is played, please Google hopscotch to find out exactly how this game is played. It is a very effective game to play with learners, helping them master different skills like eye-hand and eye-feet coordination. There are many more activities as set out in LA5. Study to know them all. This concludes my discussion of the most important content in Unit 1. So let us page to Unit 2 now, where learning activity number 1, 2, 3, 5, and 7 form the core of the content to be studied and known by you. Learning activity 1 is about definitions. Study them all. It's a definition of large motor skills, of balance and of coordination. A PE teacher should have a good knowledge about certain concepts, and that is why it is important to study definitions. Now, learning activity 2 requires you to list, meaning only name, no explanations needed, activities that can be used to improve balance skills. The answers can be found again at the end of the unit in learning activity 2. Balancing, walking over unstable surfaces like pillows will improve their balance skills. Also swings that move in unexpected ways. Swimming also improves balance skills. Hopscotch and also wheelbarrow walking. There are a few more mentioned, but you must please study them to know them all. When we look at LA3, 3 types of eye exercises are described, which can improve a child's vision. The first one mentioned is impulsive eye exercise. To do this in the correct way, study the explanation of LA3. Also, eye circle exercises require a specific way of executing them, and focus eye exercises are done in a specific way. Make sure to know how to execute these 3 eye exercises well and in detail. Learning activity 5 is about the basic concepts on how to develop rhythm in learners. Learners need to be taught how to appreciate and develop rhythm, and a PE teacher is the ideal person in helping them in this regard. The answers are set out in detail in Learning Activity 5's answers. Make sure to read, understand, and know them. The last LA to give attention to in Unit 2 is LA7. You should be able to differentiate between certain play equipment. Some of them are stationary, meaning they do not move, like the sand area. Others are movable, like a swing and a merry-go-round. Before you can differentiate between them, you should know what each one looks like, and how they are used by the learners to play on and with. If you are uncertain and not familiar with them, please Google them and find out exactly how they look like and how they are used to play on. I stress this because in the past I found that some students struggle to differentiate between them because they do not have knowledge about the equipment. I recommend that you even draw each one of them, showing how they are used to familiarize yourself with all of them. In that way, it will be easy to list the differences between them. To help you with that, turn to Learning Activity 7, where all these equipment are discussed in detail. It will be worthwhile to know this content, so take time to study and know them. They are all equipment found on a school playground. Also very important is to know what gross motor skills are. In 2.1 in your study guide, it is explained as the skills of the big muscle groups, like the muscles of the arms and the legs. In contrary are the fine muscles, which include the small muscles like the eye, the finger, and the tongue muscles. Can you name and discuss activities which develop gross, large motor skills? In 2.1.1, several of these activities are named, like dodgems, stone cold, climbing activities, and ball games. Make sure to know the names, but also what each one entails. We're finished with Unit 2 now. Let's page to Unit 3, which are about the development of fine muscles. First of all, read 3.1 with attention to familiarize yourself with the fine muscles of the body. In 3.1, there are many important facts to study and know regarding the development of fine muscles and manipulating of small muscles. 3.2.2 is a very important paragraph where tongue movement and suitable exercise to improve these muscles are discussed. Also, what isometric exercises entail. Now, isometric exercises are the type of strength training where you push your muscles against an immovable force. Study the exercises and also what they entail. Make sure to know how they improve the muscles of the tongue and also breath control. 3.3 is also a very important part of the studies. During PE, you can teach learners some stop and go activities, like red light, purple light. That's the name of the activity. Again, acquaint yourself with the names as well as the execution of these games. Very important. It doesn't help only to know the names, you must know what they are about also. When we look at the LAs in this unit, learning activity 2, 3, and 6 are the important ones. A physical education teacher should know how to run certain specific games and how to do exercises in order to present lessons with specific goals in mind. The eye exercise that can help a child to develop more efficient eye tracking abilities, that means to follow or track movable items, is described in detail in Learning Activity 2. Study to know it in detail. When a child starts attending school, he or she should be able to use certain skills with success. This also applies to certain basic vision skills, that is eye skills, needed for schoolwork like near vision, distance vision, eye movement skills, and others, as set out in LA3. Make sure to know them and also what each one entails. In conclusion to Unit 3, let us give attention to Learning Activity 6. The question is, describe the 4 levels of rhythmic activities for learners. You will find the complete answer in LA6. In short, level 1 of the 4 levels is where they have short attention spans and rhythmic activities should not last longer than 10 to 15 minutes. Level 2 is when they have longer attention spans and more motor control. They are ready to do rhythmic activities with hula hoops and balls. Whereas level 3 is when they enjoy creating their own movements regarding rhythm and also enjoy sharing them with their peers. The last level, 4, is where children prefer working in small groups rather than working in pairs, and they imitate popular rhythmic activities. But there are much more to these 4 levels. I only touched on a few. Read and study Learning Activity 6 for this in full. When we turn to Unit 4, it is about the body parts, their functions, and also dominance preferences. We all know that some learners are right-handed, doing all or most actions using their right hand and foot. And some are left-handed, where they prefer using their left foot or hand. This is called dominancy, right or left. In 4.1, each body part is named and described in detail, also their functions. The head, the brain, neck, trunk, and limbs, which consist of 2 arms and 2 legs, form the complete body. Each of them is very important, but which one do you think is the most important? The brain is the most important body part because it is connected to the entire body through nerves. Without the brain, the body cannot function because the brain is the center of all the functions of the body. One can survive without some limbs, like an arm or a leg, but not without a brain. It happens like this. For example, when the eyes see an object, the eyes send the image to the brain. The brain processes the information and sends commands through the nerves to our muscles, making the body react or then dodge if necessary. This is explained in 4.1. Dominance is explained in detail in 4.3. How to test the dominant eye or foot of a learner is set out also in 4.3. Acquaint yourself with these methods. It is also interesting to know that some people are ambidextrous, meaning that they can write equally well with both hands and kick a ball with both feet, left and right. Some people write with their right hand, but kick a ball with their left foot. Most people, however, have a dominant side, and the physical education teacher should be able to observe and determine this. It is far better to have a specialized hand to do the job well than 2 mediocre hands. A teacher should be able to teach their learners left and right. There are several ways to teach them successfully, like directions to turn to the left or to the right. For example, tell them to put the jar on the left side of the shelf, or pick up the ball which is on the right hand side of the stick, etc. Another way will be to tell them to put a shoe on their left foot and a sock on their right foot. Observe with which hand a child writes and tell them they are right-handed or then left-handed. To describe a body part, my left foot hurts and my right hand has a watch on the wrist, etc. There are a few more ways. Study them in 4.4.1. When we look at the learning activities, learning activity 2, 4, and 6 are important. LA2 is about definitions of the digestive, the immune, and the respiratory systems. Study to know them all. Learning activity 4, you are requested to explain how you will test someone's dominant side. There are eye tests where you observe with which eye the learner winks or look through an empty tube. There are hand or arm tests where you observe which hand the learner writes with and pick up a cup, for instance. The foot or leg tests consist of observing with which foot the learner jumps when he or she has to jump on one leg, and with which foot does the learner kick when you drop the ball on the ground and the learner has to kick it. LA6 also consists of definitions. The definition of limbs, the lateral midline, and ambidextrous. Make sure to know these definitions. We're finished with Unit 4 now, so let's look at Unit 5. In this unit, the following content should be read and studied by you. 5.1 is about the symptoms of stress. Now, stress is a modern life illness, and even the young learners in your class can show symptoms of stress. You as teachers should be able to be on the lookout for that. But to identify them, you should know what they are, the symptoms. There are many. Study to at least know 10 of them by heart, but be aware of all of them. On the contrary, will you be able to know that your learners are relaxed and not tense, meaning the opposite of these symptoms? 5.2 in the DPPE study guide and 5.2 in the DJPE are about the causes of stress. Something will trigger stress, like when you have a job to complete and you do not have enough time, or an unhealthy lifestyle, taking on too much, in other words, not knowing when to say no for a job, conflicts in everyday life, failure to take time and relax, etc. There are quite a few more causes of stress, meaning what triggers you to have stress. Study 5.2.1 or then 5.2 in the DJPE study guide to know the content well. 5.2.2 DPPE and 5.3 DJPE is about how to manage the stress one experiences. One can deal with stress or lessen or even get rid of stress by taking medication, turning to alternative medicine, ignoring or running away from it. It is good if one can manage the stress, but then one has to know how to do it. One way will be to take responsibility for your own thoughts, or to identify the stress in you and then to see them as obstacles or opportunities, the latter being the solution or the better choice. Because stress affects all of us and also the learners in your class, it is worthwhile to study 5.2.2 or then 5.3 in detail. Exercise is another way to reduce stress. How exercise can reduce stress is discussed in detail in 5.4.1 or then in 5.5.1 in the DJPE study guide. Study the complete content of this in order to answer how exercise is beneficial for stress reduction and also examples of moderate exercises. In conclusion to Unit 5, study LA3 in detail, where the ways to manage stress are listed. Make sure to know them by heart. The last unit in the study guide to study is Unit 6. This unit is about issues pertaining to healthy nutrition and living. Physical education is very much about body health and an active, healthy lifestyle. Like all the previous units, first of all, read through the table of content at the beginning of the unit and then the learning outcomes. Thereafter, read the learning activities and test yourself to know whether you can answer these questions. Let us first look at 6.1, where healthy nutrition and physical health are discussed. There are 10 tips to stay fit and healthy, namely, enjoy your food. Breakfast is an important meal. Eat a variety of food every day. Base your food on carbohydrates, that's cereals, rice, pasta, etc. Eat fruit and vegetables with each meal. Too much saturated fat is unhealthy. Eat regularly and a variety. Drink plenty of liquids. Brush your teeth twice a day and be active every day. Also, you acquaint yourself with the main food groups as set out in 6.1. Not only know the headings, but also the descriptions. A very important topic is mental health and physical health. What is mental or emotional health? It is the health state in which our minds are, whereas physical health is in which state our bodies are. In 6.5.1 in the DPPE study guide and 6.2 in the DJPE study guide, it is described how a person being mentally and socially healthy feels. He or she has a sense of contentment, has a zest for life, has the ability to deal with stress, can adapt to changes, has a balance between work and play, has the ability to build and maintain fulfilling relationships, is self-confident and has a high self-esteem. People who lack mental health issues or health usually shows the opposite ability as mentioned above. Read, understand and study 6.5.1 or then 6.2 as a whole in this regard. In conjunction with the above, it is discussed in 6.5.2 or then 6.2 in the DJPE study guide, how physical health is connected to mental and emotional health. Low self-esteem is dangerous for your mental and also your physical health. How? Let's see. When a person has feelings of a low self-esteem, it is accompanied by negative feelings such as anxiety and depression. This fatal combination increases the risk of heart diseases. And these negative emotions weaken the body's immune system and increase the levels of inflammation. Research clearly shows that there is a link between good health and a good self-esteem. People with a low self-esteem do not think much about themselves and bring themselves down. They also tend to not care for themselves, and instead of exercising, they remain inactive and passive. Therefore, it is clear that a PE teacher should have knowledge about high and low self-esteem and the symptoms thereof. Teachers should also be able to identify learners with a low self-esteem and should be able to assist them in achieving a high self-esteem. Study Learning Activity 5 in this regard in detail. When we page to the learning activities of this unit, LA1, 2, 4, 5, and 7 are important. We are going to discuss each one of them. LA1 is about the 10 tips for staying fit and healthy. If you can remember, we have discussed that previously. LA2 is very important because the ideas to strengthen the emotional health is set out here. Important because, as mentioned above, a teacher should be able to guide a learner in achieving a high self-esteem. I'm going to discuss a few ideas. Exercise makes one feel good. One should make time for laziness in order to prevent in getting run down. Spend some time in the sun. Learn how to deal with your emotions. Treat your senses. These are only a few suggestions. To find out about them all and also in detail, study Learning Activity 2. LA4 is about the differentiation between a high and a low self-esteem. How can one explain what self-esteem entails? It refers to the opinion of yourself. So if you have a high self-esteem, you hold yourself in high regard. Now remember that this does not mean that you think you are better than others. It means that you think you are capable of doing things on your own and are capable of believing in yourself to do these things successfully. Whereas low self-esteem indicates that you do not have trust in yourself and regard yourself as not being able to complete tasks successfully and on your own without help. From this you will notice that it is beneficial for learners to have a high self-esteem in order to complete school tasks on their own, but also in many aspects of everyday life. Let us now have a look at LA5. The question is, low self-esteem is dangerous for your health, mental and emotional health. Discuss this statement. We have touched on this topic, but acquaint yourself with the complete content as discussed in LA5. Very important. In conclusion to Unit 6, we are going to have a look at LA7, where 10 action items are listed for living a healthy lifestyle. This means the specific actions you take in order to live healthier, like eat less processed food like pre-packed meals, reduce your sugar intake, reduce caffeine, the coffee intake, reduce your alcohol intake, reduce the amount of meat you eat, laugh a lot, meditate, listen to music, learn to say no, in other words, do not take on too much. Avoid people who put stress on you. There are other suggested specific actions in LA7. It will be worthwhile to study them. So test yourself. Will you be able to describe high and low self-esteem? Will you be able to identify learners with a low self-esteem? And will you be able to assist them in achieving a high self-esteem? This unit is a very practical one because it describes actions and tips to better mental health and also to a healthier living. Now, this concludes my discussion regarding the most important facts in your study guide. As mentioned previously, make it your priority to study right throughout the year, consistently and every day, even if only for a short while, but every day. In conclusion to the presentation, I would like to mention a few important facts regarding your coming exams. Please take note of them. Please note that you only need to study your study guide for these exams. Before you study the actual content, you first need to acquaint yourself with the learning outcomes of each unit. These learning outcomes form the core of your studies and guide you through the content and can be found at the beginning of each unit. After you've studied this, you will know what the unit is all about. Thereafter, you must look at the learning activities, like mentioned before, which follow the learning outcomes. It will be wise to do all these activities to the best of your ability before looking at the answers at the end of each unit. After you've completed them, you can go back to the answers at the end of the unit and measure your knowledge against the complete answers. In this way, you will get to know the content and also will know how questions can be asked in the exams. The study guide contains adequate information and facts. It is not necessary to study from any other source for the exams. Remember to also study your assignment for the exams. Remember that when answering a question, facts from different parts of the study guide can be applicable. It is not necessarily limited to one part of the guide. It is also important to note that although physical and health education may seem as a non-exam subject for learners and a period where the learners are encouraged to explore in a less formal environment, you as teacher should exactly know how to keep them busy and how and why certain activities should be presented. Therefore, the teacher should know certain facts about the subject PHE, as well as the correct procedures regarding the presentation of PHE. It is therefore of utmost importance that you as student teacher should know facts regarding the subject PHE. I stress this because some students are of the opinion that this subject does not need to be studied for, and then they do poorly in the exams. Take time to know your study guide in order to present adequate facts during the exams. In completion, just a few hints for the exams. Write neatly and legibly. You may use blue or black pen. Please do not even consider being dishonest. If found out, you will receive a 0 for the question paper. You may not leave the exam room before 30 minutes have expired, and if you do leave, you may not come back to continue answering the question paper. You may not leave the exam venue during the last 15 minutes of the exams. Remember to sign the checklist. No smoking or eating is allowed in the room. Only paper provided by the invigilator will be accepted. So if you need more paper to answer questions, ask them to provide you with paper. If you turn up 30 minutes after the exams have started, you will not be allowed to write, and this will result in no turn up. Make sure to know what is expected of you when a question is asked. Read through the action verbs at the beginning of the study guide. For example, define means you must give the precise, brief meaning of something, whereas describe means you have to give a detailed feature of an issue. Please note that short answer questions will be asked, and the following kinds of questions can be asked. The first one, to fill in words left out. For example, what is used during relay races? The correct answer will then be baton. Definitions is the second one. Definitions of a certain terminology. For example, a definition of strength. The ability of the body to exert a maximum force against a force external to the body. So short descriptions of functions of a body part can also be asked. For example, of certain types of exercises. Another type of short question is where you will be given two columns, column A and column B. In column A, there are certain facts like international health problem, speed, chocolates and sweets. And in column B, answers of column A are given like not a healthy option to eat, HIV, the ability to move from one place to another in the shortest time possible. So you have to connect column A to column B's answers. Do you know them? Let us see. The correct answer will be 1B. So the international health problem is HIV. 2C. Speed is the ability to move from one place to another in the shortest time possible. And the last one, chocolates and sweets. A, not a healthy option to eat. You only fill in the correct letters. Do not write out the words. Please feel free to contact me regarding any uncertainties and questions you have about your subject. Good luck with the exams. You will be rewarded for hard work and dedication.